So it's another hot one today. I guess you just get used to the temperature. I am not that uncomfortable. Carolyn's been talking, she's just not that uncomfortable. If you want to prepare for SHTF, that one of the things you need to do is shut off the air conditioner and just tolerate the heat. It's going to be miserable at first. I know the first week that it turned hot, Carolyn and I just sweated up a storm, but ever since then we've done really well. So today I want to change things up a little bit. As you know, I've been kind of changing things up on this channel. I've been talking about SHTF and the differences between preppers and off-grid lifestyle, self-sustaining lifestyle versus a stockpiling lifestyle. Well, today I'm going to do something I don't think I've ever done since this channel started doing Little House Off-Grid. I did this kind of thing when it was Little House on the Road, but this is pretty serious. And it has to do with gun rights, firearm rights. I am a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I don't talk about firearms on this channel hardly at all. I mean, occasionally I'll mention them, but I'm not a firearms expert. I'm not a self-defense expert or anything like that. But today I think the government has just went too far. So I got two stories that I want to talk about and what we need to do to prepare, because I don't think Americans will do what they say they will do. Americans say one thing, but as soon as something like this happens, Americans always cave for some reason. So the first one actually happened in my county. Actually my state, but the county is addressing it. So I have my phone here and I'm going to put my glasses on. Now, I know how terrible it is to read on YouTube, read something from YouTube. I don't like it when people do it on their videos. I usually click off. So please bear with me. This is really important, especially if you're a gun owner, a gun enthusiast. This is terrifying. This letter is from the sheriff of my county. I'm not going to tell you the county, but on July 19th, 2022, the sheriff sent out a letter to the citizens of my county. It says, the Attorney General of Missouri recently received a notice from the FBI that they intend to conduct audits of county sheriff's CCW, conceal and carry records. The FBI states in their description of the proposed audit, the audit includes an on-site review of your conceal and carry weapons permit. So the FBI has sent a notice to the Missouri Attorney General, and the Attorney General informed the sheriffs that audits are going to be conducted. Now, I don't know if this is just in Missouri or if it's everywhere. Then the sheriff continues on, under no circumstances will I, as your duly elected sheriff, share your personal CCW information with the FBI. To further assure you of my resolve in this situation, I simply point out to you that under revised statute of Missouri section 51-100.92, information related in the concealed carry permit system under the subsection shall not be distributed to any federal, state, or private entities. In other words, your CCW information is between you and me, your elected sheriff, and no one else. He continues, I will continue to uphold and defend your rights. It is my constitutional honor and privilege to serve as your county sheriff. Well, that's pretty scary, actually. Now, I used to have a CCW. The days when I got them, it was required that if you were going to carry a firearm, you had to have a permit. So you went and got your schooling. It was a 2-day course, I think. I don't remember. The first day you had to sit in training. The second day you had to shoot your firearm. And then you went to the sheriff's office and they gave you a permit. And it was quite terrifying, actually. I mean, you had to go get your FBI background check. And well, then when I got it renewed a few years later, it wasn't so bad. You just went to the sheriff's office. And so the law actually became less restrictive. You didn't have to get the FBI background check anymore. You just went to the sheriff's office. They wrote your name in a book and you paid them some money and they gave you a permit. Well, now you don't even have to have a permit. You can carry your firearm without a permit. Really, the only time people in Missouri get a permit now is when they want to travel out of state. Because if they travel out of state, they need to be able to prove that they are from Missouri and they have an actual license. So this is, the FBI is violating Missouri law. Now, in my mind, the 10th Amendment prevents them from doing that. The 10th Amendment says that you have state rights. State rights, and then whatever's left over is left to the people. So in Missouri, like I said, I don't have a license anymore. I do carry. So this keeps me out of the books of the federal government. So the second one is a little bit more worrisome than the first one, because in the first one I don't have any information at the sheriff's office anymore that I am a concealed carry permit holder. As a matter of fact, the license, the expired license I have, the expired permit, is in a completely different county, way on the other side of the state. So for them to make the connection that I've moved here, and I'm not worried about it. But the second one is a little bit more worrisome, because it doesn't include a sheriff who has laws and lawyers that can protect him to protect me. Now, this one, they come right to your face. There is a video out. You can Google it. What has happened is ATF agents and the sheriff's department went to this guy's house. Now, what they were looking for was straw purchases. So the government noticed that this guy had bought more than 2 firearms since January. So the government sent a notice to the sheriff's department, I guess it was sheriff's department, to go and look to make sure that he still had those firearms. Now, straw purchases, when you buy a firearm and you give it to someone else, or they buy it from you or whatever, it's trying to circumvent the system that states that you cannot buy the firearm for anyone else, you have to buy it for yourself. So the sheriff comes up to the door. Now, the doorbell camera catches the whole thing and all the conversations. So the sheriff and the ATF agent are standing there. One is next to the door with paperwork. The ATF agent is standing, I guess, on the sidewalk. At least that's the way I understood it when I watched the video. And they said, we'd like to see these guns that you just purchased. And the guy says, well, I got my kid in there sleeping. He said, no, don't worry about it. Just bring him out to the porch. He says, you know, we just want to check to make sure that you didn't give it to someone else. Well, they're not in uniform. They're in civilian clothes. And so he's scratching his head like, what? I don't understand. Why am I? Okay, so then the ATF agent says, now, we don't have a warrant. So he's quite honest. We don't have a warrant to check your information. Well, of course they didn't have a warrant. They're not going to be able to get a warrant, because that would require that there was a suspicion that the homeowner, the gun owner, did something wrong. So they wouldn't be able to get a warrant. But that's not the point. The point is the ATF agent says, we don't have a warrant. But just so you know, if we have to come back, you know, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, or something to that effect. Kind of pressuring the guy into not asking for a warrant. So they don't have any identification. Of course, the homeowner asked for identification. They showed him a card, but they didn't have a uniform on, identifying themselves as police officers or federal agents. It was just their word of mouth and this piece of paper that the sheriff said that identified him as the sheriff's department. So, of course, the homeowner goes in and gets one of the firearms and unloads it and brings it out to him, and they check it on a piece of paper, and the paper, I guess, confirms the serial number. He says, so the homeowner says, you want me to bring the rest of them out? And he said, no, that's good enough. That's all we wanted. And they leave. Well, a couple things about this. One, if for some reason the guy didn't have the guns, and let's say they arrested the guy could have said they didn't have a search warrant and they pressured me into not asking for one. And the way they pressured it was, one, they didn't come with uniforms on. It was hard to identify. Two, their neighbors are all standing around like, what's going on over there? Why are all these people on their porch? So now he has this embarrassment from his neighborhood that, man, I just want to get these people off my property. I don't want them coming back with more cops and more FBI agents and all that. So I want to keep this hush-hush. And then lastly, the ATF agent saying, it's going to be a little bit more difficult if we have to come back. Because then, okay, what's the difficulty? Will I be arrested or detained? What's going on? So this guy's brain is just scrambled. He's being pressured to do something that he doesn't have to do. He could have asked for a warrant. A lot of Americans will say, you'll only take my guns from my dead, cold hands. Yet every time we see something like this, they're not dead or cold. Americans just hand it over. They're scared. Cops are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. ATF agents, a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They don't want to take it out of your dead cold hands. They want you to hand it over freely. And most Americans will, just like this guy did. He was scared. Not that he was going to get shot or that even he was going to get arrested. He was scared by the intimidation of the ATF agent saying, don't make us come back. It's not going to be a good thing. I guess people have this imagination that FBI agents are going to be drawn down on, give me your guns, give me your guns. It's going to be a firefight and they're going to take it out of my dead cold hands. It's never like that. It's always, oh, just let us see them. Or we'll just go to your sheriff office and we're going to look for information about your permit. Then we're going to do FBI background checks on you to make sure that you're a reasonable person and that you should be able to carry these kind of guns. And then they're going to do red flag laws and they're going to say, oh, wait a minute, this guy has a concealed carry permit, but his ex-wife called the police on him one time because they got in an argument. And so now these red flag laws are going to trip everybody up and they're going to come and take your guns away because your ex-wife, who you argued with every day, and we've seen this. We've seen that a man had an argument, an older man, I think he was in his 50s or 60s, this was maybe last year, had an argument with his wife. The police came out to settle the dispute. The man had left. So the man wasn't even there when the police got there. Again, I'm trying to recall this. I couldn't find the article. The wife said, oh, I think he's going to kill himself. So the police took his guns and wouldn't give them back. They ended up having to go to the Supreme Court to settle that thing. So for me to sit here and warn you, you need to ask for a warrant. You got to do it. Don't let them in your house. Well, that's easier said than done, because every time somebody comes to the door, FBI, ATF, Sheriff's Department, it's like, here's my guns. Every time. So I don't know how I would react. I would like to think, oh no, you got to have a warrant. Get off my property. I would like to think I would say that. But if my neighbors, I mean, my ex-wife, I remember getting pulled over for a ticket. And I'm nervous, of course. I was speeding. And she's just in my ear and making me more nervous. Could you imagine if an FBI agent came up to my house? I need to see your guns. And my ex-wife is in my ear. I'm like, no, you can't have my gun. And she's screaming at me, you give him those guns, you give him those guns, get them off our... I could just hear it. And so you got that pressure and the pressure of your neighbor staring at you and the wife screaming at you. It would be terrible. So no, it's not going to be a firefight at your front porch. It's going to be a bunch of cops embarrassing you in front of your neighbors and your family. So if you would you click that super thanks button down there? I'd really appreciate it. So I hope I can inspire you to have a plan in case they show up at your door. Thanks for watching.